Now I suggest we go on with the panel discussions and Q&A questions. So I see there are some questions already in the Q&A section. If you want to add any, please feel free. For the start, I'll just take your questions by order of presentation. So the two first ones are for you, Vasilis, and regarding the DISCO project and its use case in Thessaloniki. First question is, I understand that DISCO has a component called DISCO metadata. What's the relation with the pilot sites and this component? So Vasilis.
Thank you, Marion. Also, thank you, Paolo, and also very nice to see you, Paolo. I believe that you speak about the Disco Meta model suite and not Disco metadata. So this is basically at the center of all these disco X's I presented earlier during my presentation in the first slides. The Disco Meta Model Suite is essentially a tool that can assist the users. The users are the cities or whichever authoritative body is interested in understanding what is their situation in terms of how physical internet ready I am, how my local ecosystem, how ready is to perform next generation logistics. What should I do best, or what is my situation in general in terms of logistics? To answer your question about the relation with the pilot sites, it's a constant feedback loop in terms of the relation. We get some insights from the pilot sites. We feed the meta model suite, and at the end of the project, we will have the final version of this meta model suite. I will send you the link to this, the first version of this suite, so you can understand. It's basically a questionnaire-based assessment for different domains of the city. And yes, we can discuss it later on if you like for more detail.
Thank you. Sorry. Thank you, Vasilis. You also have a second question from Josh West. So did ACS need a strong business case to move to its primary shop to the expo as part of the pilot?
Not really a strong business case. As you can understand, it's a piloting activity. This means that the two companies had agreed prior to the initiation of the project and obviously the piloting activities. However, as I mentioned, they faced some difficulties in choosing the proper site to do this relocation. It's not easy. The TIFL Expo site is a very, very crowded place during the exhibitions. So we had to properly find the best option for the ACS operations. However, if you speak about internal communications that were needed between ACS R&D team, that is also part of the project, and the board of the company. I'm not sure how this worked out, but since this relocation moved on, I believe this was successful. Marion, I think you're on mute.
Thank you. Sorry, I had some cough.
Welcome back.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for answering this question. Now we move to Florence. We have some question for you, Alessandra. So first question is for Mariah, asking, is the SOLP in Firenze public? Because she's talking about Sulpiter project where almost 10 SOLPs were written and none of them were published. And she's also saying that non-published SOLP might not be a very useful document for city policy. So what's your take on this?
Yeah, sorry, Marion, could you please repeat because there was some noising and I was not hearing you properly. I'm sorry.
No problem. The main question is the Sustainable Urban Logistic Plan in Firenze public?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a public one, but it's the result of a participatory process that has been discussed in advance with the main stakeholders. There was a specific group managed by the university, and thanks to support also from some external services that help us in bringing and bridging all the people on board. So the result is public, but is the result of participatory process that is updated each 2 years, by the way. So it's something that is also evolving in time, considering not only the things that in the meanwhile has been really realized, but also taking into account of the new needs.
Okay, and maybe the next question is quite linked also on. So it's Josh who wants to know more about Florent freight quality partnership. So if the group also had inputs as part of the living labs in the cities.
It was something already established. The freight quality approach, it's, let me say, the rules that is underpinning the action that we are leading. And it's something that we have been shared within, we can say, informal working group that is bridging together our politicians in charge of the mobility and sustainable mobility models, then all the main logistic operators that are in the territories, and some logistic representatives in terms of committee and social affairs, let me say. So we have this table and following, and we had also a supporting letter to be part of Unchain of this table that is a sort of advisory group that we are reaching when we are now implementing our laboratory. So in doing this, not only we are working together with UPS as a logistic operator that is a partner of Unchain, representing the logistic operator, but we are also referring to this informal working group made by the main logistic operator in the territories in order to have a sort of preview of the job that is expected to be released at the end. In this way, also being in mind all the needs that are coming from them, trying to put together all the needs, keeping always in mind that at the end the services are released for the commercial activity. So we are also informing them, and the idea is to have a public event in which we can present the job that we are doing through different phases, of course. So we already had a meeting in which we were informing them about the project, about the laboratories and the piloting, and it was within our participatory process that we've been established when we have been selected by the European Commission as part of the climate neutral cities, that is Florence for Climate. So in that, we take the opportunity last year to inform them, and they were invited directly to be aware about the steps that we were doing, according, of course, to our Sustainable Urban Mobility Plan, that is our legal framework, let me say, within which we are working in.
Okay, thanks, Alessandra. I'm switching to a question in the chat that is for you, but also I would like to address it to Vasilis as well. It's a question about are you looking into the options to expand and scale up the initiative you presented? And
yeah. No, it's very nice question because the idea is to enlarge at least to all the city center. And that's why we are also focusing in defining the most suitable area for new urban logistic consolidation center, actually just expected to be tested in Mercato Sant'Ambrogio. The idea is to enlarge, of course, this experience, but also enlarging it not only to the city center, also to the neighborhood areas of Florence, but to scale up at metropolitan level. Because, as I've been saying in advance, we have this mobility plan at metro level. So the idea is also to try to scale up what we are testing right now at city, but also at metro city level. How? That's a very good question, but the first answer is coming from the fact that our plan is at the metro level. So everything it's already somehow track during the activity of the working group of the Sustainable Urban Mobility Plans. And the idea is to see the result of our laboratory and testing pilot, and then discuss with them how we can scale up this experience, and take into account that, of course, Florence have this particular city center and action that is not exactly the same for all the other municipalities that are part of the metropolitan city, but the goal at the end is the same, that is a good freight solution for a sustainable city. So the idea is to then we have a quite huge test, as you have seen from our presentation, is to find the best solution for the other area that don't need all the, let me say, opportunities that we are testing now. So we will discuss within the group which could be the solution. The idea is to go step by step, by the way.
Yeah, it's nice to see also this very collaborative process going on. So, Vasilis, you want to add on your case in Thessaloniki?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Marion. And I understand Katie, our partner from Disco, asked this. Yes, in many ways, we would like to scale this up. As I mentioned, now we have added the blockchain technology in the contracts functionality within the platform of Where MNO. It will be, easier for any companies that would like to share to perform shared operations under the same infrastructure, to trust each other, to make things easier, to have better flows under the same roof, and to have better visibility, obviously, in the place that they occupy. So that's one thing that later on we would like to test this as well. Now, in terms of the demonstration side of things, TfL Expo has still many unoccupied places that we would like to make better use of them. And also we would like to map more available underutilized places in Thessaloniki area, in areas that are important for the last mile, areas that are important and have congestion issues, and not in general. I have a warehouse in the metropolitan area of Thessaloniki, just outside the city, and it's okay to map this. It's okay to have this information. However, it doesn't have any potential in providing a solution for the problem of the last mile and the congestion and the idle circulation of vehicles, to find the proper space to do the loading and unloading, to find the proper space to perform logistics operations in general. So we would like to make the platform more focused on solving these specific urban logistics issues.
Thank you. Thank you. That's super interesting. Maybe now to give a little bit the floor to Joy. Thanks you two for your answers. Maybe we'll come back to you soon. One question for Joy. So now I came back to the Q&A. So from Marion. So question is Amazon the only company using the RATP site. No mixed use in terms of several delivery companies using the same space. That's the first question.
So thanks for the question. So indeed, today we're the only company using those sites. But that's not a prerequisite for us. And when you do visit those bus depots, you see that there's quite a lot of extra space available. Like we use less than 600 square meters. So for us, what matters is not being the only operator in those hubs, but just the assurance that the space that we need for those transshipment activities will only be used by us during the hours where we're present. So it's fine if there's another operator that's operating next to us at the same time, or that's operating on the same exact spot, but during other hours. Like that's really up to the owner and the operator of the hub itself. It just so happens that our proposals were the only ones that RATP selected for those hubs, but that wasn't our requirements.
Okay.
And yeah, I think that answers it.
Okay, then maybe following up with this question, there is one asked by Valerio on the main obstacles and enablers for stakeholders cooperation. So maybe you start, Joy, but the question is also addressed to the Thessaloniki use case.
Yes, so I think the first one would be for stakeholders, like especially when we come from different sectors. So here, like public transport versus logistics, to understand each other's requirements. And that's really been an iterative process. And like we've refined our operational model since like the beginning of this partnership, but understand like what does it mean for ITP to operate buses from that hub? What does it mean for us to operate cargo bag deliveries from that hub? Then also understand like all the requirements that we might have in terms of I don't know, like safety processes, in terms of like social conditions for like like RITP employees, or for our delivery service partners employees, like, and just making sure that those coincide. And then there might be some points that seem to be non-negotiable at the start and then might evolve over time in terms of what are the acceptable operational hours? Like, can those move a bit depending on when you operate, those types of things. So really reconciling those. But I would say, like, thinking a bit more broadly, it's also about, like, for these partnerships, also about adjusting to each other's ways of contractualizing those partnerships, and like the timelines associated between, like, RFPs and tenders that might be happening like within a longer time frame and more periodic, and be a bit less like fast pace or fast to implement versus the needs of private companies. So those are all barriers that you need to overcome.
Thank you, Joy. Maybe Vasilis, you have some reaction or complementary information for your case?
Yeah, sure. So we all need to think that we are speaking in the case of private cooperation. And at the end of the day, if the two parties want to collaborate, they will find a way to collaborate. Okay, so because they have identified an opportunity there. Okay, now we're speaking about doing this in the context of a European project. So they have some sort of obligation after all, because they've signed for this. So they need to work something out. And yeah, however, if I need to mention any obstacles, as I earlier presented, we had some issues in finding the best space for ACS performing operations. It's not an easy thing. It's a very crowded area, even though it's very friendly to perform operations because it's basically distinguished between um, um, it's distinguished because you have access to the back of the shop to perform your loading and unloading operations. And also you have, as a shop, you have a face um, to have the customers. So yeah, we at the end of the day, I believe we found the best solution. And also, one success of the project was that they managed to do this through the WRM&O platform. So they managed to utilize a legacy platform that after a couple of, minor or major changes and upgrades in some ways, they managed to do this by using this platform, and that's the whole essence of the Disco project, to utilize existing infrastructure to make it a bit better without so many extra effort, but utilize existing infrastructure, either digital or physical.
Okay. Thanks, Vasilis. I see there are still many questions. Unfortunately, we won't have time to answer them all. Let's just take one last question, and then just stay for the end. I see some people are sharing their expertise on the chat. We have actually a special small moment for that after, as we'll be collecting your input. So just stay until the end, please. We'll try to finish on time. So very last question to Joy is from Sergio. He says, I guess there is a contract between Amazon and RATP. Was it a public tender launched by RATP or something that was agreed by both parties coming from a sort of piloting initiative? And can you explain the contribution that Amazon provides to RATP for the use of their facilities?
Yes, thanks for the question. So indeed, it was a public tender that RTP did. So they started with one and trying to find logistics users for their depots. And so we want access to those 3 hubs. And then they did another one that we want access to as well. But also like building on the experience that we had gained from operating those first 3 hubs. So it's not been a bilateral agreement from the start, but just like us reacting to kind of this interest that RATP had shown. And so after winning the tender, then that allowed us to indeed have a contract. There is one with them. I don't know the exact English word for it, but it's some kind of temporary occupation agreement that allows us to use that space and basically to pay rent for the use of those facilities for the hubs.
Okay, thanks for the clarification. So I promise, well, first, actually, I want to thank very much the 3 of you, both for your very interesting presentations and insightful answers to these many questions. Sorry once again that not all of the questions are answered, but maybe we will have futures events where we can get more answers on this. So just moving quickly to the next slide.